High altitude is a challenge for the human body. This is because of the fact that at high altitudes, the atmospheric pressure or the barometric pressure decreases, but the composition of air still remains the same. So, the proportion of oxygen relative to gases in the atmosphere remains at 21%. Normally, at the normal sea level, the barometric pressure is 760 millimeters of mercury. But as we go up, the pressure starts decreasing. And at about 3,000 meters above the sea level, that is approximately 10,000 feet, the atmospheric pressure is about 500 millimeters of mercury. As a result, it is more difficult for a body to achieve the same level of oxygen saturation at high altitude than at low altitude due to lower atmospheric pressure. A number of compensatory mechanisms operate over a period of time to increase altitude tolerance. This is called acclimatization. What actually happens is that low atmospheric pressure results in the low inspired air, which means low oxygen in the alveoli. That is represented as P, capital AO2. When there is low oxygen reaching alveoli, there will ultimately be reduced oxygen crossing the respiratory membrane and entering the blood of the pulmonary capillaries, and lower partial pressure of oxygen in the arteries, represented as P, small AO2, resulting in hypoxemia, which is reduced oxygen in the blood. Now, the hypoxemia can result in hypoxia, which is the reduced oxygen delivery to the tissues. Well, the hypoxemia is detected by the peripheral chemoreceptors. That are, of course, the carotid and aortic bodies. The peripheral chemoreceptors get activated. What they do is that they stimulate the respiratory centers. They compensate the hypoxia by increasing the ventilation, thus resulting in hyperventilation. So, more gaseous exchange occurs, increasing the oxygen entering the capillaries, and carbon dioxide leave the capillaries, entering the alveoli, from where it is exhaled out. So, the arterial carbon dioxide level fall. Now, you know that the high carbon dioxide levels result in the hydration of more carbon dioxide by the help of carbonic anhydrase, producing carbonic acid. That dissociates into bicarbonate ion and hydrogen ion, and an increase in hydrogen ions means a decrease in pH. So, on the flip side, a decrease in partial pressure of carbon dioxide will result in an increased pH, causing respiratory alkalosis. This results in the altitude sickness, or acute mountain sickness, abbreviated as AMS, which is usually presented as nausea, vomiting, fatigue, light-headedness, drowsiness, feeling disoriented, increased pulse, and nosebleeds. Well, the only treatment for AMS is descending to a lower altitude. However, pharmacologic treatments and supplemental oxygen can improve symptoms. Or it can be prevented by slowly ascending to the desired altitude, allowing the body to acclimate, as well as maintaining proper hydration. You know from our video on regulation of respiration that an increase in partial pressure of carbon dioxide, or what we call hypercapnia, causes the carbon dioxide to cross the blood-brain barrier. There, it undergoes hydration in presence of carbonic anhydrase, forming carbonic acid. That dissociates into hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion. This increase in hydrogen ion, causing a decreased pH of CSF, is detected by the central chemoreceptors, which sends the excitatory impulses to dorsal respiratory group of neurons to increase ventilation, to blow off carbon dioxide. Now, consider its opposite. At high altitude, the compensatory hyperventilation causes a decreased partial pressure of carbon dioxide and a decreased hydrogen ion concentration. That causes an inhibition of central chemoreceptors and causes a reduction in ventilation, bringing it back to the normal. Now, the kidney causes a reduction in hydrogen ion secretion and bicarbonate reabsorption. This results in elevation of plasma bicarbs to compensate for respiratory alkalosis as pH returns to normal. Well, in hypoxia, when there is low oxygen delivery to the tissues of the kidney, that is renal tissue hypoxia, it stimulates HIF1 production, which is hypoxia-inducible factor 1. Hypoxia-inducible factor serves as a transcription factor for a large number of hypoxia-inducible genes, including the Erythropoietin gene. HIF1 binds to a hypoxia response element in the Erythropoietin gene, inducing transcription of messenger RNA and ultimately increased erythropoietin synthesis. Now, the erythropoietin enhances the red blood cell production, resulting in greater number of circulating erythrocytes in an individual at a high altitude over a long period, hence causing polycythemia. With more red blood cells, there is more hemoglobin to help transport the available oxygen, even though there is low saturation of each hemoglobin molecule. There will be more hemoglobin present, and therefore more oxygen in the blood. In this way, our body tackles the low partial pressure of oxygen. Well, polycythemia, or increased number of red blood cells, means there is a high blood viscosity, which results in an increased pulmonary vascular resistance. Also, pulmonary vessels constrict in response to hypoxia. Chronic hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction leads to an increased pulmonary vascular resistance and increased pulmonary arterial pressure, causing pulmonary hypertension. This can increase the back pressure on right ventricle, causing right ventricular hypertrophy, or RVH. Now, another effect here is on 2,3-biphosphoglycerate, or 2,3-BPG, also called 2,3-diphosphoglycerate, or 2,3-DPG for short. Well, it is a byproduct in carbohydrate metabolism in red blood cell. Hypoxia causes an increase in 2,3-BPG production. Now, this 2,3-BPG combines with beta chains of hemoglobin, decreasing its affinity for oxygen, causing unloading or release of oxygen. As a result, the oxygen-hemoglobin dissociation curve shifts to right to a great extent. Compensatory changes also occur in the tissues. The mitochondria, which are the site of oxidative reactions, increase in number, and myoglobin increases, which facilitates the movement of oxygen into the tissues. And the tissue content of cytochrome oxidase also increases. In most cases of high-altitude sickness, symptoms are mild and resolve in a matter of days as acclimation takes place. But in rare, extreme cases, life-threatening pulmonary edema or cerebral edema may develop. Pulmonary edema occurs as a result of pulmonary vasoconstriction and an increase in pulmonary vascular permeability. Though pulmonary vasoconstriction is a normal response to alveolar hypoxia, but it is exaggerated in high-altitude pulmonary edema. While the cause of high-altitude cerebral edema has not been established, but likely involves cerebral vasodilation in response to hypoxemia, resulting in high capillary hydrostatic pressure. That was all. I hope you have got the concept. Do comment down below if you liked the video.
Explore our extensive library of over 1,800 video lectures to learn about a wide range of topics. Only on sqadia.com.